Imagine never having to sell your Bitcoin ever again. Seriously. No tax stress. No regret when the price moves right after you sold. Just holding. Just stacking. And still being liquid. That's the dream of every single Bitcoiner, right? The good news is, with platforms like Firefish, the dream is getting closer than ever. But, and this is a huge but, this is not a risk-free walk in the park. I'm going to show you, step by step, how you can use Firefish to get dollar liquidity without selling your Bitcoin. And more importantly, I'm going to show you the risk you absolutely must understand and manage so this dream doesn't turn into a total nightmare. So, let's get to the core question. How does this whole thing even work? Firefish is a platform where you can deposit Bitcoin as collateral to receive a loan in dollars. This principle is called a collateralized loan. Let's use a simple example. You want a loan for $10,000. To get it, you deposit Bitcoin worth, let's say, $20,000 with Firefish. This is called a 200% collateralization ratio. Boom. You now have $10,000 in your bank account to pay bills, make an investment, or just treat yourself. But your $20,000 in Bitcoin? They're only deposited as collateral. You did not sell them. So if the price of Bitcoin pumps, you still profit from the entire upside. This leads us directly to one of the most important questions ever. Can Firefish steal my Bitcoin? The short answer is, the Firefish protocol is designed so that the platform itself cannot steal your Bitcoin. Why? Because Firefish is what's called a non-custodial platform. You aren't sending your Bitcoin directly to Firefish where it sits in their company accounts. No. Instead, your Bitcoin is locked in a multi-signature escrow, a multi-sig trust account, right on the Bitcoin blockchain. Think of it like a digital safe deposit box that requires multiple keys to open. Neither you alone nor Firefish alone can access the Bitcoin. Transactions must be confirmed by multiple parties. This system prevents a single party, including the platform operator, from running off with the deposits. The protocol is also open source, which means the code can be viewed and audited by anyone. So, the risk of theft by the platform itself is minimized. However, other risks remain. Risks like phishing attacks, where scammers try to get your personal login details. That's why it is essential to always be vigilant and follow basic security practices. Sounds fantastic, right? So, where's the catch? The catch is time. These loans have a fixed term, for example, 18 months. After those 18 months, you have to pay back the $10,000 plus the interest to get your Bitcoin fully unlocked. And now comes the critical question, where do you get that money? If you don't have it from other sources, you'd have to sell some of your Bitcoin at the end. And we'd be right back where we started. This is where a strategy often called a rollover comes into play. The idea is just before your first loan expires, you take out a second, new loan on Firefish. You deposit Bitcoin as collateral again and receive fresh dollar liquidity. With this money from the new loan, you pay off the old loan completely. In essence, you've just pushed your loan further into the future. You still haven't sold any Bitcoin, and you've replaced the original debt with a new one. Now, this might sound like an infinite money machine, but this is exactly where the dangers are lurking. This entire process is heavily dependent on the price of Bitcoin. Let's look at scenario 1, the price of Bitcoin moons. If your collateralized Bitcoin has gained value over the 18 months, the rollover is dead simple. You'll actually need less Bitcoin as collateral for the new loan to cover the old sum. In the best case scenario, you can even unlock and withdraw some of your original collateral. Nice. But now, the dangerous scenario 2, the price of Bitcoin dumps. Let's say the price has been cut in half. Your original $20,000 worth of Bitcoin is now only worth $10,000. That is no longer enough collateral. To pay off the old loan with a new one, you would now have to deposit a much larger amount of Bitcoin to get back to the required collateralization ratio. And this right here is the biggest risk. You must have extra Bitcoin on hand on your own hardware wallet to be able to top up your collateral if needed. If you can't do that, you face liquidation. Liquidation means Firefish automatically sells your deposited Bitcoin to cover the loan. That is the ultimate nightmare scenario you have to avoid at all costs. Therefore, my golden rule is this: be extremely conservative. Never, ever use your entire Bitcoin stack for platforms like Firefish. The vast majority of your coins belong on a hardware wallet where only you control the keys. Treat Firefish as an additional tool for a small part of your portfolio, not as your main savings account. Another risk is platform risk. The rollover strategy only works as long as Firefish or other providers exist, and there are always enough people offering loans. You are making a bet that the platform will still be around and liquid in 1.5, 3, or 5 years. I do think, however, that there will be even more platforms in the future, and maybe in a few years, you'll even be able to get a loan from your regular bank using your Bitcoin as collateral. Okay, so how do you practically approach this if you want to try it out? Step 1 is the hardcore inventory. What percentage of your Bitcoin are you mentally and financially prepared to expose to a liquidation risk? 5%? 10%? Be brutally honest with yourself. Step 2 is the test run. Start with a tiny sum. Take out a loan that you could, in an emergency, pay back from your salary or savings. Get familiar with the user interface, the fees, and the entire process. Do not run experiments with money you can't afford to lose. Step 3 is the mental rollover simulation. Before you rely on this, play through the absolute worst-case scenario in your head. What happens if Bitcoin drops 50% right before your loan is due? How much additional Bitcoin would you need to top up? Do you have that reserve untouched on your hardware wallet? If the answer is no, or maybe, this strategy is not for you. And step 4 is disciplined management. If you decide to do this, you must actively manage your loan and check in on it. This isn't set it and forget it. You have to watch the prices and be ready to react at any time. So, to sum it up, yes, Firefish can be a powerful instrument to get one step closer to the dream of never sell. It allows you to live on the Bitcoin standard by using your digital gold as productive capital, similar to how one might leverage a property. But it is not a free lunch, and it is absolutely nothing for the faint of heart. It requires discipline, solid risk management, and above all, a conservative approach. Anyone who masters this can indeed avoid having to sell their precious Bitcoin for everyday living expenses. If you want to support my work here, feel free to use my code in the description when you sign up at Firefish. That helps me a lot to produce more content like this. And as always, this is not financial advice. It is for informational and educational purposes only. Make your own decisions and always be aware of the risks. I hope this helped. Take care and see you next time.